The Beatles, Rubber Soul, American version, right now on States and Kingdoms.
Well, it's been a long time since we talked about the Beatles.
Sure has.
We grew up when basically listening to the Beatles when the CDs were released.
Right, so all of the all of the albums reissued on CD.
And we listened to them basically
English,
in that order,
yeah,
too. So it was,
English versions
that
were released on CD, of course.
So I remember the early records, first. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So we didn't...
This isn't about us.
We didn't listen to these ever.
The American records weren't, we did not listen to them at all.
Yeah. And we always thought, the Capitol Records just, butchered all of the albums and to make extra money to put out extra albums. That's basically true.
Well, yeah, that was what I always read, that what the Beatles actually wanted weren't released in America. Capitol did whatever they
And because we don't
to.
have the connection to those records that people of, obviously, mom and dad's generation did.
Beatles 65.
Well, yeah, Mom always used to say Beatles 65. She'd actually never even really listened to the British records. She didn't know them.
No, she didn't.
And Dad only did really
from the CDs.
From the CDs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but we never had that connection. But there are a couple of interesting permutations. So Rubber Soul is, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Listen to it so often.
Yeah.
It's like it's like part of us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that experience with the Beatles.
I'm not going to quote that
especially
line
at our age. They should call them feudals.
There you go.
You're welcome.
But so it's very difficult. But what I like about this is that it's almost like just a slightly different view of Rubber Soul, and it's really interesting.
Right. Because they removed 4 songs, and they added 2. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't. I mean, that's a significant change.
Yeah.
We're talking about someone's album, someone's record.
But the thing that's interesting, of course, because we could go through some of the songs, although I find that kind of silly, but whatever.
Because normally, right, guys, we usually go through song by song when we do these little discussions.
We'll go through a little bit. One of the most interesting things about this is, of course, as huge Beach Boys fans, it's Brian's reaction to it.
That led to Pet Sounds.
Yeah, and we always heard about that.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. I don't I know he's, I didn't necessarily take his
a little out there.
his memory as gospel, but when I used to hear that, a long time ago, you see him on what was it, like Behind the Music or something.
Oh yeah, it's famous.
A long time ago for us.
Rock and roll lore.
I never understood that until hearing this.
No, it's true.
And then I was like, wait a second. He heard the American version. He must have heard the American version because it doesn't make sense to me what he said.
Right.
Still doesn't totally make sense. No,
it's true. When you think even the other Beatles records before this, I never understood what was it about Rubber Soul that Brian Wilson heard that really made him just lose his mind, literally, and then feel like he had to write Pet Sounds in kind of response.
Yeah,
it is very interesting.
A complete album or like a collection of almost like folk songs, you can. It's not like it's not there at all on the British release. But I would say, the songs that they took out, even just not starting with Drive My Car makes a huge difference.
Well, yeah, because Paul likes to talk about, and I always read, the whole idea behind this album, Rubber Soul, was they were going to call it Plastic Soul, or it was about soul music. It was about that kind of R&B sort of feel. So what Capitol did with the American version is essentially took that out of the album, removed any of the songs that had a little bit of an R&B kind of tinge.
Enough for it to diminish that,
so what you're left with on this album called Rubber Soul is mostly, folk-based, Birds-based,
Even
songs.
the Most Birds Bay song is not on here
either. True.
They took that off too.
Well, you've also got, like your Bob Dylan influence coming in.
Yeah.
Coming in hot.
I mean, I always thought the Rubber Soul was, a result of them just spending a lot of time in America throughout 65. And, it's almost like them listening to American radio and just everything, like everything that they were listening to and hearing for the, and then they did this album. And I mean, I guess I still think that, but it's it's interesting. I still think it. It's just interesting that you have a decision not made by the Beatles have such an impact on, on someone like Brian Wilson.
There's no way that whoever made that
him to do this other
no way that whoever at Capitol made the decision. No way that they were thinking, I'm cutting this album now to make it a little bit more conceptual in a different way.
I'd love it if that were true, though. That would just be funny.
I'd love to know. But in a lot of ways, the album that we're left with, the American version, is almost a tighter concept.
Yeah, which
which doesn't stand true for a lot of the other American versions.
No.
They really are just like cut-ups.
But, so one of the things on this album that you really, I think this version sort of sets in relief, and I'm not sure why it would do this. It just kind of, even though they took Nowhere Man off of this, it does somehow... show the Beatles like dealing with relationships in a way that they had not done. They're always these songs really do have this theme of, maturing, of love, of that their problems. Especially not just John either. Mm-hmm. All of them. There's an angst to this.
Yeah, there's almost like a lot of.
And then a song just purely about love in the middle, basically.
There's a lot of like turning away from people, kind of be like, well, I'm walking away, like forget you.
It's weird, and I never thought that from the standard version. I call it the standard version.
It is.
So it's just interesting, especially from John. Like you have real struggles with like love, mm-hmm. and jealousy, anger. Trying to turn toward something, but it's really very interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what Brian, because Pet Sounds is such an album of like uncertainty and insecurity and dealing with things and to the extent that
and growing and
that I often don't really want to listen to it. So Without Driving My Car, it starts with
I've Just Seen a Face.
Yeah, which it's really kind of funny. I love this song. And there are a couple of songs on this album, actually, that some people, I think, get treated as lighter fare.
Sure.
Like, It's Only Love, certainly Run for Your Life.
Michelle.
I think Wait. People love Michelle.
I know.
Of all the songs on Rubber Soul, I always thought that was kind of...
I thought it was the fluffy one.
You could say lighter.
Yeah. Well, It's Only Love, obviously... we knew from Help,
well, sure.
Borrowed from Help, and I think it's interesting to just grab that one song and mm-hmm. and put it here. It fits.
Well, the American releases it is just kind of confusing when you have to remember. That's that song from Please Please Me is
so it's actually it's really Revolver. Interesting. I always thought It's Only Love was a gorgeous song, and I still do. I love it.
No, I kind of like that it's here. And again, it fits. It does fit in really well.
Also, it's kind of fun, like when the standard album so well, to listen to, a different version, is somewhat rearranged. It's just it somehow it adds a freshness to all the songs.
Yeah,
you're hearing them just in a slightly different way.
Rubber Soul Shuffle.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson regarded as like I don't know if he said the first complete album or a really complete album. I kind of I see that, but I actually think A Hard Day's Night. Yeah, is that for anyone that cares. If I had to pick, that and the White Album are tied for really my
Hard Day's Night is ridiculous.
I'm saying my favorite album, but the album that I have most fun listening to, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all originals, and it's got a lot of songs on it. The album is actually pretty long, and the song quality is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I feel like that's when they really stepped out on their own, and I know, because it's a pretty extraordinary achievement, that album.
They were babies.
Well, but yeah, so just that. I mean, I don't disagree with Rubber Soul being considered that, or with Brian considering it that. But I do think Hard Day's Night should definitely be remembered.
What were the other ones you just said? You said Wait.
As being like lighter fare.
I love that song.
I know. There's not a song on here I don't like. Yeah. Yeah, Wait has I love the drums, and that's one thing. I mean, I say like more and more because we've always liked Ringo's drumming, but I always enjoy that. It's just kind of refreshing. I always enjoy his drumming. No,
when you listen a little bit more closely and you really dig in, that's one of the standouts for sure. The drumming is just always so solid. It's so good. Every song has just what it needs. Yeah,
which is what they always say, and it sounds like a also ran kind of compliment, but it really is true. No, it really is true.
It's true.
Fits in perfectly.
Like a drummer needs to have, times of restraint and also like boldness, and you need to, it's a push and pull.
I love his feel. Yeah. Actually, I don't know, just great kind of classic.
And
feel.
Wade has such an awesome rhythm because it kind of slows down and stretches out, and then it picks up again, and like the song just kind of propels itself forward.
The person that really got kind of, the person that got messed with the most here is really George. I mean, he lost one of his songs. It's not really fair.
It's not fair.
But I do like the one that they left. He's a little cranky.
Well, that's one where he's like, think for yourself. I'm not going to be here.
I do. I'm looking through you is also, it's like one of Paul's few kind of borderline angry songs. He doesn't really do that too much. I feel like you get a kind of a good close look of Paul emotionally in that one, which I honestly don't really feel happens that often. Well, not really, because you can't see her. But I do think I do feel it's John that stands out. On Rubber Soul, anyway, I think, his development, his ability to write an emotional lyric that rings true, but is not, I don't know if you say too personal, or at least too, what'd you say?
Like journalistic.
But I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, for some reason, this version, it almost like highlights that, even without Nowhere Man. And I can't explain that. But when I listen to this, that just seems clearer to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, people, I think, love to point to Norwegian Wood and be like, oh, see, the introspective song.
Well, it is.
The metaphor.
There's just John's lyrics are definitely ambiguous. And it's like, there's the word is all about love, and now he understands, but he's kind of like burning down apartments and hunting down.
Run for your life.
No, really.
What's funny is
he's dealing with a lot of stuff on this album.
When Sean was what, like 6?
Not even
6 years old. Your favorite Beatles song was "Run for Your Life."
Yeah.
I love that, and he would sing in his little voice.
No, my voice was really deep at the time.
You better
run for your life. Yeah. All in all, I mean, really, because this is getting long. I just think this is one of the few American releases that's actually worth having and listening to. For anyone that had no connection to those. So anyone our age, younger, obviously.
No, it's true.
It's really worth listening to.
We're not counting Magical Mystery Tour. It's a separate.
No. I'm saying one of the. There are others, but I mean one of the few that.
This one is actually interesting and
really interesting.
And your big point, it's interesting, for the Brian Wilson influence aspect.
But I do feel it actually brings out some of the qualities of the songs. Not better, but it just kind of it highlights them in a different way than the standard release. Yeah. Like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That John I didn't realize that how those two songs kind of play against each other.
Well, that's the thing. It's also an interesting thing to think about, just in terms of, like song sequence and structuring of albums, and how that really can change so much. I mean, it really can. So there you have it. Our quick discussion of Beatles' Rubber Soul American version. Please let us know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos here at States and Kingdoms every Wednesday and Friday. Thanks so much for watching.